Namaskar. We are coming to you with our second update on COP28. What is happening, what happened in the last 5 days. But before that, I must mention that there is a huge controversy around the COP28 president, Sultan Al Jaber, who is from the host country, United Arab Emirates. And he is also head of the Abu Dhabi National Oil Company ADNOC. His statement a few days ago in a conference that it is not feasible or possible to completely phase out fossil fuels in the next several decades. That's impractical, that will collapse the economies, and that created a huge uproar because the primary goal of the climate negotiations is to stop greenhouse gas emissions or come to, as the governments are saying, to net zero. That is also a farcical thing. Net zero is extremely controversial concept, but even though we accept the net zero which the governments have pledged, or they said we'll do from 2050 to 2070, the last country, India, even that, without phasing out a very large part of fossil fuels, that's not possible. Yesterday or before, the COP28 president and the International Energy Agency head, they have explained in a press conference that actually that comment was not that we don't have enough science for climate change that proves that we have to phase out fossil fuels. So they have retracted a bit and saying no, we have not said that. We are clarifying that we are committed to phasing out of fossil fuel, but at phasing down of fossil fuel at a very fast rate, phasing out of unabated fossil fuel use at a very fast rate. Unabated means if you burn fossil fuel and the carbon dioxide is emitted, that needs to be soaked back by some other means, by carbon sequestration and storage, or by forestation of methane. So that kind of thing they have clarified. But now coming back to three of the major issues of this COP. One is the global stocktake and what actions are being taken on that. The global stocktake means, as we explained in the last update, that till now, all the nationally determined contribution that the governments have done or given to UNFCCC, that we will do this much by 2030. So collectively, how much that is leading to? Is it enough for tackling climate change? It's very clear. Every report, the synthesis report which came out in September 8, has showed that we are nowhere near the goals of the Paris Agreement. So in this, there is some text being negotiated. As you know, in the UN, the texts are negotiated with a lot of effort by countries and governments. So the texts that are being negotiated, there has been some progress toward phasing down and phasing out of phasing down of fossil fuels and phasing out of unabated fossil fuels. So I'll just talk about a few points. There is as of now, we don't know what will happen in the next few days. As of now, there is a general agreement that unabated fossil fuels, that means fossil fuels which are burned and carbon dioxide is emitted and it is not soaked back, that should be phased down very rapidly within this decade by 2030. The other point that has been tentatively agreed upon is that fossil fuels which are burned and which is abated, that means the carbon dioxide is soaked by some means, that will be phased down, but that will be phased out only after 2050. So even in 2050, entire phase out is not being talked about. So that's a major problematic area. The third thing that has been agreed upon is that, and which is very problematic again, the over-reliance on technologies which has not been proven to be either very effective or economically competitive, like carbon sequestration technologies, like abatement, capture and storage, capture and use, and all these kind of things which have problems of their own. So along with these, their impacts on the communities where these projects are being proposed, and much of these are going on around this, and there are a lot of protests going on around this, a lot of groups from global groups, some civil society groups which have come together, they are protesting. Some of the poorer countries are also protesting strongly that this is not enough, this is just cutting. So this is where we stand more or less on the global stocktake, but there are few other points, like it has been agreed that till 2030, the global renewable energy capacity should be tripled to 11,000 gigawatt. So what happened 19 to 3 times of that capacity should be achieved so that the new fossil fuel use goes down. Also, there is a tentative agreement that new fossil fuel funding should be stopped, exploration and others. But that has not been agreed upon by many countries. In fact, even the countries, rich countries like US and all, they are going ahead with new investment, new exploration of oil and gas. So there is no agreement, but there is some negotiation going on, and it's part of this in the text, very loose language. The other thing that is being talked about is the renewable energy. As I said, tripling of renewable energy capacity by 2030, doubling of the energy efficiency gain rate. Now the energy efficiency is increasing roughly around 2% every year. So there is a target that by 2030, this efficiency increase rate will be increased to 4.1, so that very rapidly, whatever energy we are using, we can do that work with much less energy, whether it comes from fossil fuel or renewable, so that the net emission from any work that is done, transport, agriculture, industry, energy production, electricity production, everything, that goes down. So that's a tentative agreement as of now in the text. Ultimately, what comes out we'll only know after 12th. So these are the main points that are going ahead in the global stocktake report, the general tentative agreement till yesterday. The other major thing that is critical to this COP's success or failure, as people are saying, is the loss and damage fund. Loss and damage fund is, again, in spite of mitigation, reducing greenhouse gases, in spite of adaptation to climate change, there are massive number of climate driven extreme events happening, massive floods, storms, cyclones, heat waves, a lot of things are happening, and everyone is suffering. But those who are nature dependent, whose livelihoods are dependent on natural conditions and being normal, they are being hit much more. So their issues are being taken up.
Is unprecedented. This is historic. The fact that we were able to get the agenda voted and agreed on without any delay for those who have been involved in previous COPs, this is just unprecedented.
But this loss and damage fund, as of now, the total amount pledged in the loss and damage fund, as you know, it was agreed last year in Egypt, but the loss and damage fund total pledge has come to roughly $750 million. So that's not a very large amount, that's a minor amount, because if you, again, going back to some of the recent disasters, the Pakistan floods a few years ago cost $12 billion. That was the estimate. The Himachal disaster this year would be over $1 billion total disaster, total cost if you calculate. So for global loss and damage addressal, as of now, it is 750 million, but they are saying that this is just the beginning. There will be much more. The climate finance, which is a contentious issue for many years, that has some new pledge has come in, like the host country UAE has pledged a mixed fund, not only a grant, but a mixed kind of package around $30 billion. But the conditions are, it will be including private funds, some government fund, it will attract private funds, so some will be blended funding. So all these hazy things are still there. The total amount that has come or been pledged now is around $57 billion, which is far short even of that major amount of $100 billion per year. But some new things that has come in is, one, for the climate change and health issue, where the health ministers' climate and health meeting took place earlier in the COP. For that, for the health aspect of climate change, to tackle that, some $2.6 or $2.7 billion have been pledged. For energy transition, another $2.7 billion have been placed. So some of these individual issues, climate change impacted health, energy transition, these are being the just transition. So the languages are coming in the text that it has to be fast, rapid and just transition, but enough provisioning for that is not there. So one part is the climate finance is still very, very insufficient, very, very inadequate to support even the minimum action on this, because every poor country will need finance to shift their energy systems from the fossil fuels, from coal and oil, etc., coal, oil and gas, to renewable energies, where a lot of new investment needs to be made. The disasters, climate driven disasters, will increase in at a very fast rate, and the losses that are being now estimated are in trillions of dollars, not in billion, trillions of dollars. But the loss and damage fund has not yet reached even $1 billion. Hopefully this will reach a few $1 billion, which will be completely inadequate. So some small countries, etc., might get something. And the most important thing, I'll end by saying this, most important thing is whatever you do, you must stop, the global economies must stop emitting further carbon dioxide, because it has been estimated that over 4/5 of the entire carbon budget has already been exhausted. So the remaining thing we will probably exhaust by before even 2030 or by 2030. So the temperature rise beyond 1.5 degree is almost a given now. So the effort to hold on to the Paris Agreement's tentative pledges that we will try our best to hold the temperature rise till the end of the century below 1.5, that seems to be out. Though the Secretary General here has used very strong words. He said very clearly, no abatement, no reduction, phase out. Phase out is the only thing. Completely stop use of fossil fuels. And along with that, give support to the poorer countries for both transition and their adaptation and loss and damage work. So this is where we are now. At the end of the 5th day of COP, we are coming to you on the morning of the 6th day of the COP. At the end of the, around maybe on 10th of December, we will come to you with another update during the COP. And then once the COP is over on 12th, hopefully 12th, if not 13th, like many COPs have extended by one day, then we will come to you at a sum up at the final episode. Thank you.